Why do some tech leads become engineering managers faster while others stay stuck executing sprint after sprint? It's rarely because they are smarter. It's rarely because they write better code. In fact, many brilliant engineers never become influential leaders. The reason is much simpler. They spend their careers executing code after code, but they never learn how to think strategically. Today, I am going to break down how Amazon thinks before it builds, and more importantly, how you can apply these thinking patterns in your own careers. Because strategic thinking is not something which is reserved for VPs or directors, it's a skill every tech lead can develop. Before we begin, let me clarify you something. This isn't a video about copying Amazon. Amazon has different products, different customers, and different constraints. But world class companies develop world class thinking strategies. And that's what we are studying today. Think of this video like watching a game footage. A football coach doesn't watch another team because he wants to become them. He watches because he wants to understand how elite the teams think. We'll do exactly the same. We'll study 5 thinking patterns, not to admire Amazon, but to improve your own decision making. By the end of this video, you will have a practical framework that you can apply in your next sprint planning session or architecture discussion or in your stakeholder meeting. Let's begin. Let's analyze how Amazon thinks before it builds. Most engineers begin project with one simple question: what should we build? Sounds reasonable. After all, we are engineers. We are expected to build things. But strategic organizations ask a different question: why should this exist? That one question changes everything. Because when you start with what, your brain immediately jumps into solution mode. You start discussing APIs, microservices, cloud infrastructure, and whatnot. You already assumed a solution. But when you start with why, you force yourself to understand the business problem first. Imagine your product manager asks your team to build a reporting dashboard. Let's see how execution mode and strategic thinking works. In execution mode, we start discussing chats, APIs, authentication, and caching, and also deployment. But in strategic thinking, we ask what business impact will this dashboard help customers make? Notice what happens. Suddenly, some features become unnecessary and others become critical. Your conversation becomes more focused. You are no longer discussing technology, you are discussing business impact. And leadership notices that difference immediately. The engineers who ask right questions often become people who are invited to bigger conversations, not because they are louder, because they are solving right problems. That's the first mindset shift. Strategy starts before execution. So, if strategic thinking begins before execution, where exactly does it start? Let's look at Amazon's first thinking pattern. One of the Amazon's most famous leadership principles is customer obsession. But I think many people misunderstand what it actually means. Customer obsession doesn't mean saying yes to every customer request. It means we should start making our decisions with customer problem, not your product. Let me give you an engineering example. Suppose your product team asks for a notification system. The execution team immediately starts discussing queues, retries, push notifications, and architecture. But strategic thinking asks, what customer behavior are we trying to change? Maybe customers are abandoning the checkout because they forget some unfinished purchases. Now, the problem becomes much clearer. And when the problem becomes clearer, the solution is much simpler. The solution might not be adding another feature, it might be removing the friction. That is why strategic thinkers spend much time defining the problems rather than proposing the solutions. Because a poorly defined problem always almost has a poor solution. Here's something I would encourage you to try this week. Before your next meeting, ask one question. If we succeed, what problem disappears? Watch how the conversation changes. Now, we have understood the customer, but there is another mistake many engineers make. They optimize for elegant technology instead of business value. Let's take a look at it. As engineers, we are naturally drawn towards elegant solutions, cleaner architecture, better scalability, new frameworks, and better code. There is nothing wrong in that. But here's the reality. Businesses doesn't succeed because the code is elegant. Businesses succeed because the technology solves meaningful business problems. Leadership doesn't think in terms of classes or services. They think in terms of revenue, risk, customer retention, market expansion, and time to market. The more your technical recommendations connect to these outcomes, the more influence you gain. Next time, when you're presenting an idea, don't stop with explaining how it works. Instead, finish it with this one sentence: this supports our objective of. That's it. That one sentence instantly changes how leadership hears you because now you're speaking their language. That's exactly what strategic thinking is. It is translating the technical decisions into business outcomes. We have covered two most powerful patterns, but this is where strategic thinking becomes even more interesting because every meaningful decision involves sacrifice. In part 2, we will explore how Amazon makes trade offs explicit, how strategic leaders think even before anyone asks about the risks, and why writing is one of the most underrated leadership skills in engineering.